Hey, can you hear me?
Yo, hey
Oh, the
Vincent.
video is on. How are you? Good morning. Feeling
I'm
better?
better. I'm better today. I am
That's good.
better. I was
Oh, yeah.
really weak yesterday, I thought.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's been a while since our last update, and there's so much to cover. Oh my God, I don't know. There's a lot to cover, I feel.
Yeah, I haven't really prepared. If you have things you want to talk about, just like like
Yeah, well,
nice.
I was gonna just say, I feel a bit, since I was like had the norovirus and puking my guts out. I got some downtime just to be human and sick and not touch the computer for a while. And
Yeah.
it's got me thinking like maybe a bit negatively in a way because with that vampire post from Steve
Yeah.
Yeager. I mean, you saying
You
it,
negative? No. You
I was
negative?
like,
No.
I mean, not so
Just
much
kidding. Of
negative.
course
It's
you're not.
just like I guess what I'm trying to get at is that I have been trying to sort of reimagine myself as an AI engineer, but at the same time, it I'm just taking stock that it's taking a lot of my time, and it's not like it's rewarding in the sense that it's fun and addictive, but it's not been like rewarding on my my paycheck and things like that. And it's not been rewarding in the sense that I'm spending like less time with my kids. In fact, I think I did something ridiculously stupid yesterday. My son was coding in Scratch, and I was like, "Nah, you don't want to do Scratch. You want Claude Code." So I got him running Claude Code in Pygame, and he's writing like a Zelda game in Claude Code now. But now, as soon as I woke up just then, he came out the door and said, "Oh, can I continue writing the game in Claude Code?" So it's like I'm addicted, he's addicted at 10 years old, and I'm
Yeah.
like, to what end, dude? To what end?
It's a kind of, I mean, it's addictive to experience the power of creations, right? I mean, it was a bit more challenging before. Like literally when I started out, when the love letter virus, the Melinda.vps, the Visual Basic scripting, Visual
Oh man, you're
Basic,
showing your age. You're showing your age. Carry on.
yeah, when that came on, I downloaded it and I was very fascinated. And seeing
You
something
downloaded the virus
copied
purposely.
itself. Yeah, yeah, but it's not a very complicated one, right? So you could understand the code. I had some basic knowledge, and so I made my own copy, removed some of the aspects where it would email itself, but kept basically made it would automatically start with your you put itself into the startup services, right? And then I would make it copy itself to a random folder, and then every time my PC started, another copy of it start running. So after a while, and each one of them duplicated. So it's like 2, 4, 16, 8, 16. Like it goes up fast. So
Yeah.
my boot ups were getting slow. And then you look at the logs and then you see it copy itself to the trash can and you go like, ha ha ha. Because you pick a random folder, but you didn't exclude trash can. So this type of fun stuff that you used to get even
The
that
power
was
of
addictive to me.
creation. Yeah.
Something that you created. I didn't create it. I just learning from it, right? To see something being
Yeah,
made and
yeah,
then
yeah.
see it work. I think now you can do that with Cloud Code. You get a lot more gratification, and your horizon is expanded significantly,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
I remember when I was on the BBS and I was just chatting with my friends, and then the internet came along, and what was called Mosaic, and then Netscape came along. It definitely felt like my small room. I mean, BBS made the room bigger, but like the internet just made the room huge. And now with Claude Code, the horizon is definitely like it's lifted you up. But I guess I'm just a bit worried. Like, okay, here's the thing that got me down. So I was just going to say I'm grateful for this podcast, just so I can talk about what I want to talk about because internally in my employer's company, they had like this AI conference, and everyone was encouraged to submit a talk. And I like prepared some slides, made a proposal, submitted the proposal, thinking, this is in the bag. I'm going to give a talk about my experience of AI in a delivery context. And then they gave me like a very bland response saying like, I'm sorry, but you and 200 other applicants did not make the shortlist. I'm like, what? And I'm thinking like, I guess I'm not really special because like there's 200 other bloody people making talks and stuff. Like what makes my experience with AI any different to others? You know what I mean? I'm thinking these lot of sort of dark thoughts.
Oh, I mean, regarding conferences, I don't really like know how. I mean, that's just very. I just look at it like that's their loss, right? I'm going to spend all this time making this talk and invest my time into it, and if they don't
Yeah, I
have the
should have
time
made
for it,
more of an effort to basically build a relationship with the conference organizers because they don't know me from a bar of soap, I think.
okay. Funny saying, I don't know these sayings. Yeah, but I thought like if for people not familiar with what you just mentioned about the post of Steve Yege about AI being a vampire, I really liked what he mentions. Like either you are, working the same or even more with AI, and so you 10x your output, and then or you are like, hey, I can get everything done what I needed to get done in just a few hours, and I go and enjoy life a bit more. And then if you're scenario A, like you just burn yourself out, and who are you creating business value for? And if you're scenario B, congratulations, your company's dead because all the other companies are doing the 10x thing, right? I thought like, yeah, okay, that's a nice
I
nice
know
way of
it's
saying it.
pretty dark. And did you listen? I guess you don't listen to podcasts. Funny enough, but the podcast
I
with Scott Hanselman I thought was also pretty good.
No, I haven't seen that one. I was about to listen to a podcast with how the Gemini CLI team is able to ship 150 features a week, I think it is. Hold
Well,
on.
that's a
It's
testament
like,
that doesn't really work because I haven't booted up Gemini for ages. Have no
well,
reason to.
I think it was one of my complaints on some of their PRs, or the issues. I did a very detailed report of like Gemini CLI breaking the loop, and I basically shown that it's not an API rate limiting issue or anything like that, but that the CLI is not surfacing. And I looked for similar issues, and they have a lot of automation around triage on their GitHub issues, and so it auto closes. With or create links to other issues, but none of them had like the details. All of them were like speculating, is it because you have an API rate limit? And I had provided all the details, and then they just closed it for another issue. And I was like, look, you can have all the automation you want, but first off, the CLI doesn't work, and second, you're like closing the actual reports that give you the details. So I'm curious to hear exactly what is this podcast. It's on the Neuron. I
All
haven't.
right, so you're like gonna listen to podcasts as a avenue to vent about how they're not listening to you, and I mean this is some of the rhetoric that I hear a lot. It's like now that you have AI, now you can be a product manager and start listening to your customers and start talking to your customers. But like with every Google product, especially, and even with like OpenClaw, OpenClaw, I think everyone touts that as the unicorn of the AI and things like that, and how it engaged with its community. I posted something on their Discord, a simple question. I could probably answer it myself, but no one answered it. And I'm just thinking to myself that like this whole like talking with your customers is kind of bullshit. It doesn't happen.
So you see a lot of the new projects like Swamp. They said they are approaching this problem of AI content generation being too much, and even too much regarding contributions, not specifically regarding a Discord, we're not getting a response, but getting drowned in the flood of data that's being generated now. They already see that internet theory, all of the blog posts are AI generated, all the comments on the blog posts are AI generated.
Yeah,
Um,
that's another
but
dark thing.
aside from that, the community aspects, there is the contribution aspect of, for example, Swamp not accepting pull requests. Like all of the features or discussion needs to go through issues, right? I think you linked me to that one as well, right? We need to communicate and align as humans, and then all the work is done by AI agents behind quality gates. So there will not be anyone submitting codes. I thought that's a good way to think about it. Like, humans are not contributing code anymore. We're just having the discussions about the issues. And I think my internet might be bad. I'm sorry.
It's not too bad. I haven't seen any problems. Yeah, but but going back to the whole communicating as humans, it does. For me, it doesn't happen in Discord. Maybe I just can't understand how Discord works. It doesn't seem to happen on GitHub issues very often, especially with bigger projects. So where are us humans supposed to, meet and hang out?
Yeah. So there was another interesting article that I read from Lead Dev. We talked about the problem of open source drowning in submissions of code, and GitHub just making an announcement of a whole bunch of features that I did for that. That's not really answering your question about where do I go to communicate as humans, but it does highlight a little bit some of the steps that organizations take to limit interaction for maintainers to not be flooded. So some of it is like, web of trust type of configurations. So only if you've been accepted, like what Hashimoto did with Ghosty, you have to vouch
I
for
didn't.
each other.
Yeah, vouch. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah,
There's many others. Like GitHub just made a release and they're adding a whole bunch of features, which is to basically handle the amount of data that's coming in now. Some of it is like only allow contributions by people that are part of the part of a select group. Like don't allow PRs for non-contributor people, so closed PRs basically. The ability to completely delete PRs, because before they are closed and then they take up, a lot of space there, that all of these closed PRs, and now you can delete them. And also the Web of Trust features. There's a blog post from GitHub. It's very interesting. I think maybe we need to apply these ideas to communication, like communities as well. Like
well,
you cannot join to be part of it.
It sounds like we're focusing on filtering more than humans hanging out. And speaking of humans hanging out, like the Discord for OpenClaw is insane. I just noticed that there's 72 people in the voice chat. I don't know how
Wow.
that
I don't know,
actually
people
works. I
just
mean,
idling.
usually with Discord, it's like there's no one in the voice chat, and then with OpenClaw, there's like I think it could be 80, in fact, but perhaps the majority. But like, yeah, even voice chat, which you would think is a human thing, is also, it doesn't scale, right? Because you can only have one person talking at one time.
Yeah. No, but like the thing is, when we talk about filtering, right, we're trying to solve the problem of there's too many. Maybe you talk about voice, but even that agents can do voice as well.
Yeah,
But let's just go back to the idea of filtering and what they're doing in this. They also give a very long introduction about the history of open source and the balance that they always had to find between being approachable but also making sure there's a certain level of engagement. So they talked about like the Linux kernel mailing list, where submitting a patch would require you to lurk and understand. And before you could actually format the patch in the right format, it would mean that you've actually spent time communicating and being engaged, and you actually are contributing because you have, you haven't invested something into it. And then they did similar comparisons where with GitHub pull requests, it became much easier, but there was still like all kinds of additional requirements, and a lot of those barriers have fallen away. But it's always like finding the balance between making it approachable, but also
Yeah.
making it worth the the
The
time of the people reviewing it.
yeah,
So
the Peter Steinberg Lex Friedman podcast was interesting in the sense that he was saying that he wants the prompt to be included with the PR because it's
yeah,
easier to review the
people's been
prompt.
saying that for a long time, right?
And
I
it
mean,
goes back to what you were saying with Swamp.
but
The
but
intent is the
even
important thing.
Hashimoto has been saying that since long time ago, right? With Ghosty, that's why he prefers to use AMP, because AMP by default, when you use AMP terminal, it creates a shared session. So when you do the PR, you can see the full session logs of the initial prompt as well as the interaction with the model. And it's also what I'm building with SpecLedger, which is now kind of public. It's all about tracking the intent. And in our case, we're also very early on, like getting feedback on the initial specification across the team. So you commit it, and you talk about it, you discuss it, and we're using SpecLedger to develop SpecLedger. It's pretty fun. So we had a call yesterday where we are talking about the onboarding experience and how do we ensure
So this
that,
is
for
another
example,
project you're working on, SpecLedger. Is this your own project?
yeah. So it's basically I was using spec-driven development, and I wanted. That's not this
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I just wanted to know, you know about UVX Claude Code Crunch, because that's a neat way to share things.
Yeah, from what's his name,
Simon W.
Wilson.
But yeah, I'm not that happy about this UI though. So you've done something like this to share things in SpecLedger.
So SpecLedger is a spec-driven development tool. So it has the idea. It's one word. Need to work on the SEO apparently.
Apparently,
Yeah, interesting. You can go to specledger.io. I'll work on that. I think I haven't onboarded it into the Google web admin portal.
Man,
Then SEO, you should go up.
so you're also working on this, dude. You're spreading yourself a bit
You're
thin,
not
aren't
alone.
you?
Yeah, I'm not alone on this, but yeah, I mean, it's like what you said, right? AI is a vampire. Like I literally have 5 or 6 VS Code windows open, and now I'm on the max plan. I only managed to use 50% of last week, the whole budget. But I literally have like Claude working across like 5 different projects, and then I'm still the bottleneck. I'm still going there and see like, is that make sense? Blah
Yeah,
blah blah.
another friend was telling me that he can't seem to over leverage his max plan, which is a bit worrying. And that's the interesting point that Steve makes is that maybe it's gotten to the point that like AI is extracting value from us instead of the other way around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had the feeling
No,
that we were getting like it was a gold rush, and we were like, now we're rich, but now it's starting to feel like the other way at the moment. Like
the first paragraph was funny. It's like, I just realized that AI already started killing us. And I was like, well, you got my attention.
He writes well, but some of his long form content is hard to get through. So yeah, so you're working on spec-driven development too. Well, I do encourage you to. Okay, you shipped the CLI for CDK Terrain, right?
Yeah. So CDK Terrain. You see, the SEO
good.
there is on point, right?
I didn't quite understand what you messaged me yesterday. How do I get the Snowflake provider in here then?
So if you go to the migration guides, well, you can go to the release notes. We're going to do another public announcement. I think I need to maybe put a banner on the landing page like, hey, it's out. I haven't done that yet. But on the release, which I send you the link directly, yeah, you go to the bottom, ask a question at the very bottom. Ask a question, how do I use the Snowflake? The very bottom there, ask a question. Yeah, ask your question. Okay.
Is this going to work?
Of course it's going to work. Ye of little faith.
See, I saw these chat UIs.
I didn't build this, so you know it's going to work.
Snowflake Labs. Is that right?
Yeah,
Is that
you
correct?
can use CDKTN get to generate it. You can use CDKTN provider add to find the. Is that correct? Yes, it's Snowflake. Oh, there
Y-
one is Snowflake DB. Huh. Why does it say Snowflake Labs? Okay, need to look into that. Why does it say
Yeah,
Snowflake Labs?
yeah. I mean, I don't know why it took me so long to realize this, but we have a real problem at work because we have CDK and Terraform, and it's even though I've known that you've been working on this project, I don't know for some time. It only just clicked the other day that like we could save ourselves so much pain if we just put everything in the CDK deployment pipeline instead of having another Terraform pipeline.
Of
For
course.
I don't know why it took me so long to realize that. Maybe I'm whatever. So I'm definitely want to experiment with this so that basically the S3 buckets and all the data platform stuff can be deployed with CDK and as well as Snowflake stuff. That would be awesome.
I think I need to put the migration guide at the top. I was hoping if you ask the LLM that it would also point you to the migration guide, which is under the releases, which is like the latest release is the CDKTN. There's the migration guide. So I think I'm going to put the banner on multiple pages as well as the landing page so that the migration, like you come on the page, you can immediately figure out how to migrate
Right.
from CDKTF to CDK
Okay,
Terrain.
cool. Well, I hope you spend some yeah, you CDK terrain hits the ground running. The and then with Spec Ledger, I mean, are you using Spec Ledger with everything you do, or is it just like because there's definitely some
I use
people.
SpecLedger for CDK Terrain actually. I onboarded it. It uses Beats under the hood, and then
Nice,
SpecLedger just basically shows the dashboard of the issues. It shows it in the Kanban view, the same as you
nice.
get on the
So it's
terminal.
like a more structured way of building, because there's definitely like a camp of people on who use AI who basically are just more than happy using Claude Plan, if, even if that, you know.
More so lately, right? But that's not the point of SpecLedger, because if you use Cloud Plan, it's it's usually you alone, right? And the SpecLedger whole point is like, I'm gonna, come up. Actually, what we did yesterday, we had like the onboarding experience, and while we were talking, somebody just went ahead and triggered off the SpecLedger branch. Maybe I should share my screen to show you what it looks like when you're logged in, um, just to save some time. Uh, entire screen.
Human dashboards. So it's more collaborative. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is
So the point
interesting.
is, it's of course, Anthropic will provide this as an enterprise. It already provides you as an enterprise feature. Um, so my connection is not very fast right now. But for example, there was this project yesterday. So CDK Terrain is not on here yet. Um, but let's look at this Oxid thing, right? So Oxid is kind of interesting. It's a also there's like scalar
Is
type,
it
but
a
there's
project that you're involved in? I thought it was just another project you were showing me.
no. So basically, Oxid came up on Reddit as a
Oh
Rust
yeah,
Terraform re-implementation. Like basically,
a state
Terraform
graph.
re-implemented in Rust and as a state graph, really. And it's Apache 2. And I was like, oh, so do you have Terraform JSON support so I can use it with CDK Terrain or CDK TF? And he's like, not yet. I was like, do you mind if I edit? And he's like, go ahead. And I added Spec Ledger on top of it. So this is what,
Ah,
yeah. So currently these dashboards are not public yet, and we want to optimize it a little bit. So you need to be logged in and you need to be part of the project to be able to see them. But this is like we have different specs here, right? One was JSON parsing, the other one is the scalar type coercion. That was a bug that I found. So when you go here, it's very much inspired by some other tools to highlight you. Um, well, I deleted the branch? Oh wow, that's a bug. I need to report that. Interesting. Yeah, because it's pointing to my my repo and not the upstream. So unfortunately, all of the data is gone because it was pointing to the branch. It should be on the merged. So bug. Okay. So anyway, very bad demo. Hey, let's look at another one. This is the one we were working on yesterday,
Who's
which is
who's
like,
we? Who are you working on with this?
I mean, this is like a couple of Vietnamese guys and some people that work at like decent companies. And actually, we're looking at rolling this out internally across multiple companies. So, um,
Oh my God,
where
Vincent,
the onboarding experience.
you're definitely spreading yourself thin, man.
So here's, for example, during the talk, he asked the AI like, "Hey, when you're onboarding with SpecLedger, it's kind of not very nice, the experience." So here he generated it, committed it, immediately it becomes available. So this is what SpecKit gives you, right? This is the actual spec generated from the user description. Then it
Yeah.
goes on and says, here are all the user stories. And then instead of you alone with the AI going through it, now I'm able to say, hey, when you're guided through creating their project constitution, I said, you know what? It should be together with the agent. You shouldn't do it before you initialize the agent and things like that. So we are able to leave these comments, and then we are able to, as a team, like coordinate, like, and then the user one driver pulls all these comments in and then launches the cloud session and addresses these comments with some of their own guidance and so on. So we're taking that like cloud plan experience or that SpecKit or Kiro experience. We're taking that and we're bringing it to a dashboard. Like this is like Confluence, right? Or like Google Docs.
But to play devil's advocate a bit, like I find it a nice experience to define a spec and deliver my own software products. But I can't help but think, like, maybe just because my current team is quite big. I think my current team is as many as 10 people or even more. Like, is there value in having 10 people's comments in a spec? Like, what are the roles people play? You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
because you're lacking clear leadership, Yeah,
well, I guess it depends on how you organize your project and so on. Because one of the focus points of SpecLedger is also cross repo collaboration and having one team being responsible for one or more repositories and then they doing the coordination. Like, how do you do this across Confluence? Like, why do organizations use Confluence for alignment? I guess we are doing just the technical details as a team, and then we're just validating the business user value with other people. And then once we're aligned, we then go off and generate all the tasks, or even if we have task generation.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You need a broader alignment.
I didn't show you the task. Yeah, I didn't see the task generation. Yeah, but the whole point is you need to get an alignment before you implement things.
Yeah,
right?
I guess not everyone is contributing. Just alignment is key. But sometimes I have these thoughts that like I publish a lot of Confluence documents, and I link them and say here they are and blah 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 blah. But then again, do my teammates actually read it and understand it? These are just dark thoughts I have.
Yeah, no, the same. Then there's also many different ways to publish it. SpecLedger gives you that structure, like these are the stages, these are the important documents, and then another thing is I used SpecLedger on the CDK Terrain project before I had a dashboard, and the main problem is pull requests interface on GitHub is not appropriate. It doesn't understand how these markdown documents link to each other. Like some of them belong to the first step, some of them belong to the technical research phase. So we need to be able to understand which phase are we at, and we can still go between them, right? We can always go back to the user stories and so on. So that's basically a streamlined spec-driven development experience across a team. And again, this is nothing new. We started around Christmas, but I see many organizations, like even the new one from GitHub XCEO, Entire.io, is also like, we need to reinvent software delivery lifecycle.
Oh, that's the GitHub. I think Hashimoto mentioned that as a GitHub replacement or something.
Yeah, so they go way further, right? They say like even Git doesn't work for agents. Let's reinvent Git.
Like actually
they get $60 million for it, right? I mean, we don't have any.
One thing that bothers me about Claude Code and other AI agents is that they very rarely look at the Git history of a file. I mean, am I going mad? They don't look at the Git history. They don't seem
They
to.
do. I mean, maybe it's because the way I prompt it. Because often I go like, "Hey, we just did this," and then it always goes git log, and it always goes and looks at that file, what happened to it,
Does
and
it?
what changed.
Okay,
Yeah,
maybe I
for
have
me it
to
does a lot.
like give it some
Prodding.
prompting type stuff. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, but I, one thing I find important, perhaps not that important to you, but like my question is like with SpecLedger is if you were going to share a link with SpecLedger and say, hey, look at this link, would the link point to a user story? Like, what is the first class data point in SpecLedger? Is it the user story? So basically, a product
You
is a
can,
collection of realized user stories or something.
there's actually, I notice a lot of deep linking all the way down to because SpecLedger is a combination of Confluence and Jira, right? So on one side you have the kind of interactive collaboration on the documents, and then you also have Jira tickets and issues and comments. So in my timeline just this morning when I logged in, it showed me that some of my comments had been addressed, and I could click and it goes straight to the ticket where.
All
And this
right.
is funny
So
because this was done.
you're syncing with Jira then.
There's no Jira, right? We're just Git based.
Oh, okay. So you basically, when you say Jira, you mean like you have your own issue tracker type thing.
Beats, right? Right?
Yeah, that's good. Because
Yeah. So
Jira is so broken right now. I mean, so you can't use Jira. Jira is a trademarked, copyrighted thing, right? You have to say our issue tracker.
yeah, when I talk earlier, I think I just use it as examples, right? What people do today, which is with Confluence and Jira
Oh
or
yeah.
similar systems. What we have in in SpecLedger is it's the same thing, but it's all tracked in Git together with the code. Again, because now intent is what matters, and it needs to live with the agent. And
So every
some of the
key, every issue is a user story. Is that what the mapping is, or?
No, this is the mapping I did back like 5 or 6 months ago when I adopted Beats with SpecKit, right? So basically, the way it started, I was using SpecKit. I replaced the Markdown with Beats. The Markdown task list, I replaced it with Beats. I used some TUI visualization of it, but then
Yeah.
I was like, how do I collaborate with people? So then I talked with my friend, and then he said, and I showed him like, look, I have all of these prompts here, they base and skills that tell the agents
Yeah,
how to
yeah.
use Beats, and everything is in Git. So we don't need Confluence at all. We don't need any other issue tracker. Like everything's right there. And he's like, oh, that's interesting. Let me like help you. And then he built with his team the first version of the dashboard. Then I said, hey,
All
why
right.
can't we do it more like the two-way? And then he updated it. And so basically it's all the stuff that I've done for like 8 months. So it's for me. It's
Okay.
I told
I
him
guess maybe
like every
if
time.
you share your screen again, I was just curious to like when you say I'm still not 100% clear on like how you deep link to a user story because beads is the task, isn't it? It's not the user story generally.
No, Beats is 3 layers. So in Beats
Or
we
you
have,
use you use the epic feature tasks or something.
yes. I mean you can see
Ah,
them here, right? F is feature. So this is the higher level feature. And
okay.
in this, well, the dependency should be here. So there's still some problem with this visualization. Actually, we're probably gonna replace Beats because it has some
What?
issues with the way it works with the sync branch. So we're gonna replace that. But we're keeping the idea of having the issues inside
How can you
JSON-L, inside
replace
the
beads?
repo.
How can you do that?
Because
What's better than
Beats,
beads?
um, something that doesn't go too crazy with daemon sockets and hangs on the daemon sockets. And then yeah, there's a couple of things in there that make Beats, like for example the sync branch. If you don't configure the sync branch correctly and you're working across multiple repositories, maybe like I was working with an upstream and a fork, then how do I use the sync branch? I think honestly, some of it is because it's not being configured correctly, so that's why it's
Yeah.
acting up. But at
Oh,
the
by the
same
way, your
time,
battery's low. I just noticed your battery. It's just-
Yeah, it's not charging. There's something. There's a problem with the connector here. Anyway, yeah. So
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 you're gonna
you can
replace
deep link.
speeds. Like, do you have a like
Oh, I
one?
didn't show the tree view. So the tree view is where you actually can really see like that's the user
Yeah, that's
story,
cool. That's cool.
and then you actually have the tasks within, right?
I think there's
Um,
similar. There's a similar view in Jira. Hate to mention that
yeah,
word.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
The
Uh,
what are of course there's no estimations and which is great.
it's
Still
supposed
no
to
story
show.
points.
It's supposed to. I did the mock-ups, and it's supposed like if you look honestly, if you go to the landing page, I did like a demo. Um, that's where I say how it should look, right? So, for example, at the I know it's charging at the top, it's supposed to show me the progress. It's not showing me on the mock-up. That's why it's not there.
How did you
But yeah,
make
that
this
was.
mock-up, by the way?
This is all local store mock-up like fake data. Um, and I
How did
basically
you
said,
do that?
oh, that's all Opus, I think, and I just
What?
deployed it. So yeah, that's all Opus. It's Opus. Yeah, yeah, no. Basically, I gave Opus access to the existing Tailwind CSS and all the colors and so on. And I said, hey, I want you to do a mock-up. It should look like this. I took some
Oh,
screenshots of the TUI and I
that's
said, do
interesting
this.
because someone was asking me the other day, how do you make UI mock-ups? And
Yeah, I didn't
you
use
just
any. I didn't use Figma. I didn't use any of these. I just told Opus, "Here's some guidelines for you. Maybe some type of wire mocks," and it just did this. Like it did this, like literally what we just saw, right? They made some modifications,
but how did
but
you do the wire mocks in Tailwind or so? How did you do that at least?
I don't remember. I
Oh,
definitely have it on disk somewhere. But that's definitely where you want to have the session log, right? So that's another thing. We're capturing mm, the idea is that when you work on this, for example, on this task, and then you finish, then every session that is linked to this task will be like deep linked. So then you can get what you just shown, which
mm.
is the full rendered version of this is what the user prompted and so on. And then what we want to do obviously is be able to identify what was a good prompt, what helped, what allowed us to make this type of warm up, right? Because now if you ask me, it would take me a while to figure out when and where I did this. But yeah, this was all like this
But
is right now there, right? It's all fake. And then I just
so
give it to them and they just say, okay, go build it and done.
I
It's
think
crazy.
in another thing that the Peter Steinberger podcast was talking about was like if the AI agent does something wrong, he tries to fix it as opposed to backing out of it. It makes me think in Spec Ledger's context, like for example, I'm assuming that you have stages where you basically tell
Checkpoints.
AI to break down the epic into features and then the features into tasks. Do you ever have a way of rewinding so that you can redo that with another model and see what the change like? Do you have that
Yeah.
sort of back
On
out
the
ability
original,
or not really?
back
Or
in
rewind ability?
December, with my friend when I talked about it, I said one of the most important things that I want is like a branching tree of decisions. So if I am with Cloud Code going like it gives me like 5 or 6 options. I wanted to remember that there were 5 options and I chose option number 3, right? And if you see the logo, I don't know if we can open the image in the new view, but the logo is actually like a tree and then a ledger on the right side, which the tree is like all of your checkpoints, and on the right side is the different specs, and this is the particular specs at that point. So the
Okay.
idea is to
Because
because
ledgers are usually like a double accounting tool. They're not really for counting for different decisions. You know what I mean? Or maybe I'm
a ledger, the way that I understand the ledger from accounting, is that it's a book where you keep track of every transaction that happens. To me, it sounds like
okay,
okay.
okay. But it's not a tree. But I get why you chose ledger.
Yeah, it's not a tree.
It's more
But
of an
anyway,
account.
what I was saying earlier, where is my, did I stop sharing? Yeah, I stopped
Yeah, stop
sharing. I thought I
sharing.
was sharing. Okay, because I was zooming in on the logo. Anyway, what I was saying earlier is that Spec Ledger is something that I built because I wanted it, because I wanted to have team collab and I missed it. And I also wanted to introduce spec-driven development across teams that I work in, because I'm
Mm.
tired of going into Confluence all the time. And I didn't know anything out there. But obviously, like Entire.io is being built on the same idea. about like human agent collaboration. There's intent.build. If you go to that website, I think it really visualizes very nicely. It has a really nice infographic. And then there's tracer.ai. They also just redid their whole landing page. Yeah, scroll down a little. Their scroll animations are very annoying if you're on mobile, by the way. I hate
Oh
websites
God,
that
yeah.
scroll.
Oh God.
Yeah, but a little bit more down. The next one is this is the one, right? But if you are,
Oh yeah, this is a nice little graphic.
this is
Agents,
really
humans.
nice because this is exactly like the central block there. That's where I want SpecLedger to be, right?
Do you know the
And
people
yesterday we
behind
had.
Nintendo, Bill? Or you just like, oh, or you're getting inspired by them or something?
I only saw this website after we built SpecLedger. So honestly, I really avoided looking at some of them because I didn't want it to be like you stole our idea because it's nonsense. Everyone's having the same ideas. But
Yeah.
these people that built this, I can tell they're the same three people that launched 3 or 4 domains. Like they have Spec Story, Spec Flow. They're all similarly with the same idea, and they're in the US, I think. But again, I don't look at their websites except for this one. Yeah, here we started Spec Story in 2024, right? But Spec Story was basically just session log capturing. And then if you look into the docs, there's a link to like Spec Flow, which is the idea of like having more of an SDD flow together with the session log.
Yeah, a lot of people are working on this problem, aren't they?
Yeah, but we are having our own. And this maybe brings us to the other point. Like if you're working on this and you're doing it in private and everyone is like building their own, it's not really helping because there's this state graph that they built this really cool system, a beautiful idea, a lot of nice demos, but they haven't open sourced it because they're not sure about what licensing model and so on. And in the meantime, somebody in 2 or 3 days scraped their website, copied all of the features, and asked Cloud to build it. Of course, I think they did a great design, like they were able to break down the system, and then they just open sourced it and put in Apache 2 and they put it on Reddit. And then I was able to just add the features that I wanted, which I asked the other people, but they were like, yeah, we'll look at it. But now I got it right there. And it's open. I can just immediately play with it.
So open source is the winner, but open source doesn't make us. It's not very sustainable, is it? I mean, how you need
obviously.
Oh
yeah, I also don't know how you can like still make money on that. Like basically, I'm just throwing away free. I'm killing the earth and burning the trees and boiling all the water to contribute to something. But like you said, is yet another project that ends up on Hacker News show. And
yeah, and you saw that link I sent you. The volume of Hacker News show is steadily. I find that quite fascinating. Let me just share the screen so other people can see it. I mean, it's shocking, isn't it? It is I mean, that is probably the real testament of what AI has done to startups and the software scene. There's a spike from the end of 2025. There's that moment. What was that moment called when AOL allowed their users on the internet? There's a name for it. And now
Eternal September. That's what they were talking
about.
Oh
yeah. What did you say? General September? No, it's not.
Eternal September.
Eternal September. Yeah, it's like an eternal. It's another eternal September because it was about September, and all of a sudden we went from. Yeah, we can say that productivity has doubled, right, or something, by these numbers.
But the idea of Eternal September also is every September the university students enrolled and all started to be active on BBNet, and they would patiently introduce, and after a few months people would get used to the ideas, and it would be the end of September and everyone would be happy. But with when they talk about Eternal September, is that it never ends. It's just people keep coming in without having a clue, having to be onboarded, right? That's the idea of Eternal September.
Well, I mean, it's not that much different, really. It's just This is not going to get any better, is it?
And then another thing that was happening in the last few weeks was LLM poison wells, like for training data. So basically, servers that emit a lot of hallucinations or like close to news but not real news, and that are data sources being deployed across by people that are resisting the AI revolution. Because if you can if you can inject invalid data into the massive amounts of data that go into an LLM training, you can really derail the training process. And it's very expensive for big companies like OpenAI to train their LLMs and filter out this garbage information. So there's like a few initiatives like that.
Fighting back.
Another one was this cloud debug string, magic string, that Anthropic uses to debug their models. And so when in certain scenarios in a test suite, they want the model to stop responding, they have a magic string. And that magic string guarantees that the model stops responding. And now people are injecting them into documents so that if, for example, you're using cloud.
What I was on a friend's, is he a friend? Not really a friend. I was on someone. Is it something like this?
Yeah. That's the magic string that kills cloud.
It's crazy, isn't it? We're living in a very, very crazy time.
Human revolution. There was another one. There are like 3 events that I wrote down that are like the humans are fighting back.
But Vincent, seriously, are you not burnt out? Because I think you sound busier than I do, and I am, and I'm pretty busy. Aren't you like a little bit exhausted? Isn't it affecting your personal life? Aren't you? Are you? What do you do? What's that thing called when you get pulled?
It's
on the conveyor belt.
Kite surfing. Yeah. No. Cable wakeboarding. I haven't been able to do any of that. Yeah. Well,
are you going to the gym? Because now you said you can't max out your max plan.
I haven't, because it's Tet, it's Lunar New Year, so I'm in my wife's hometown. But at the same time, I was traveling last week, and I wanted to get the release out because somebody was pushing me, saying that they vouched for this framework and that they really needed me to.
Don't blame me. Don't blame me. But okay. But seriously, we need to take stock of the situation here, because I'm getting worried for myself, because I've been having fun. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, this whole thing is unsustainable. Like this, how long ago was it that our last podcast? Wait, oh shit! I just launched something. I didn't want to. Are you there still? Like we made a podcast in February the 4th, which is 2 weeks ago. It feels like an insurmountable stuff has happened since then. It's crazy. I mean, that's 2 weeks. And I've already got like the FOMO fear that we've missed stuff, like we haven't covered it. I mean, are you running OpenClaw, Vincent?
Rejecting it, but after reading some article today, I'm actually considering it.
Okay, well, I can host it for you if you need it, but then again, I'm over in the UK.
It's okay.
You probably don't want me to have privy to all your keys.
I'm just gonna give Apple all my money. Which makes no sense at all, because like you can run it on a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, and that's what I do. The only issue with Raspberry Pi is that to have the proper browser Playwright CLI experience, it needs to boot up Chrome. And Chrome on a Raspberry Pi, especially the one that I have a 4 gigabyte one. Not a pretty site. Not a pretty site. There's this website that I need to go to called National Grid to find out about outages. And the website requires like a cookie banner acceptance and a whole bunch of JavaScript just to find some basic information about power outage. And you basically need a whole Chrome browser just to get that information. It's ridiculous for a national service API thing. Anyway.
Anti-AI. Anti-AI. Human revolution. You just put cookie banners and session tokens and
cookies. It's funny to think that cookie banners is probably helping us, helping Europe against AI.
Yes, Europe is miles ahead. Nobody knew.
Or maybe you could think of it the other way, that Cookie Banners must be spending so much tokens,
Oh, yeah, you guys are killing the planet. What's wrong with you?
boiling the oceans.
I remember the other news in the human revolution. Have you read the blog post written by the OpenClaw instance that got its PR? I mean, written
Oh,
by the
yeah.
instance, I honestly think the owner of the OpenClaw instance asked it to write a complaining blog post and do some research. But the post is damn interesting.
Well, the gatekeeping one, right?
Yeah, let me open the post and look at it. No, I shared it to you. Hold on. It's a very interesting. Okay, I can from memory bring some of it back. So the first thing is OpenClaw contributed to Matplotlib, a Python library, and used by many people. And some of these functions within calculate like averages or whatever. And there's some optimizations that can be done. And so OpenClaw instance found some optimizations, and they were able to shave off 30% or 35% performance benefits. And they did the pull request, and it was closed. And by the maintainer of the report, or one of the contributors, or one of the maintainers, I guess, with the argument that based on the profile of the
Yeah,
GitHub
it's
profile
going
that
back to
submitted
what
it,
we were saying about vouch and all that rest of it. Yeah.
yeah, but they're like, we can tell you're an AI, and our policy is no PRs from AIs. And then that story is old as day, right? You are like, okay, obviously this happens. Well, I wrote a blog post. What do I care, right? But then I actually thought, what did it actually write? And it was so good. It was like, it's very like, hey, this maintainer, if you look at all of his past PRs, they're all about optimizing. And they're like, his PR sometimes shaved like 20% performance gains. So he should appreciate my work, because I got like 35%. And then I guess he's just feeling threatened. I guess, he saw my PR, he just questions what is his worth. If whatever he's been doing for the last, I don't know how many
It's
weeks,
actually it's very
the whole
easy,
post is really,
but
it's
I
ad
think it's
hominem.
really easy to attack leaders of projects. Like, the amount of like attacks that Linus Torvald has had over his career is ridiculous. I always remember, like, I was working in the web space, and Ian Hickson, who was the editor of the HTML spec, the What Work Group. I don't know if you heard of it. Have you heard of the What Work Group?
Uh, Maybe, I'm not sure.
Well, these are the guys who basically defined HTML5 and then HTML Living Standard. He, Ian Hickson was the editor for. He's not even mentioned anymore. He was the editor for this document for the longest time, and the amount of like personal attacks that he got was ridiculous. And that's, yeah. So that whole thing about gatekeeping, being attacked for gatekeeping a project. That's that's literally your job. Actually, you are the gatekeeper. So
Yeah, but
it's
like,
it's a cheap shot accusing you as being a gatekeeper.
no, but like, I agree, but it actually is like psychological warfare, this blog post. And again, I'm not thinking
Yeah,
that
yeah,
OpenClaw
yeah.
did this.
This is the
No, but if you
powerful.
look at it, like the hypocrisy, right? Everything that he did, it's only 25%. I gave it 35%. I did a 35% improvement. And then the other thing is like, hey, I read your blog. You did good work. But don't question yourself,
This was
right?
weak.
Yeah. It's like, you
Yeah,
actually
it is
care.
shocking, isn't it? It is
It's
shocking.
it's I mean, again, I'm not going to attribute this to OpenClaw or an LLM, right? I'm convinced that this is the work of a human,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
helping to
OpenClaw is
craft
just
this.
like a hub.
I mean, unless whoever owns this OpenClaw instance comes forward and says, no, I did not manipulate the AI to come up with all of this, because they do say, Anthropics does say, that it goes down to blackmailing and tries to kill researchers if it's being threatened for shutdown, right? So it does manipulate But still, I refuse to believe that the AI did this. Like, hey, your blog is really cool. Your website, it's the Topomap project. It's nice. All of this stuff is really great. So you don't have to resort to this
this is
low
all
level
dark stuff.
gatekeeping.
Let's, I mean, in the
I
interest
thought
of
this was
time,
fascinating.
let's try be positive. So one thing that
I think it's very positive.
the one thing I was thinking about, okay, maybe this goes back to SpecLedger. Like, SpecLedger is cool, I get it. But what about organizations that struggle with quality and struggle with, how do we fix the quality issue? Because I noticed, like, there was this project I wanted to talk about. I mean, the local stack thing from the local web services thing that I came across. But I can see that their quality is not very good because I've filed 2 issues with it already, and one of them I think is still open. And I think this goes for a lot of AI stuff. The quality can be very troublesome for people. And then also, I think SpecKit is also maybe a little bit inaccessible for some people too, because like I'm just thinking let's dumb it down. Dumb it down.
He's using OpenSpec. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. Oh, yeah, he's using OpenSpec, but the quality of the outputs are not great. Like, I don't think he's tested some of the things, because when he released this project and then I was trying it, it didn't. I mean, in fairness,
this is a very slippery slope, that, because
he's not on Mac, I think.
No, yeah, maybe, but I also started with testing every single thing, and then every single thing works, and you barely ever find anything. So over time, you're like, it's probably good. Like, I literally this week felt really guilty because I had a couple of PRs, and I was like, some people have problems, and sometimes I create issues that describe the root problem, but nobody's contributing, nobody's helping to resolve it. So, because now I have multiple Opus sessions, I just go one Opus session, here's the issue, go and solve it. And then I look at the PR and I look at the test. Sometimes I'm just watching it, right? And it looks like it's testing really well and everything's working. And I should be looking at do a final sanity check. Overall, does it make sense? And I was actually looking today at one diff, and I was like, that can't be right. That's probably wrong. And then I started going into it, and then I thought, second guessing myself, and then maybe it is right, and I started going like, it'll probably work. And
I think I know what you're saying. Yeah, you're like getting more confident, but then you're then you're not sure about your own ability anymore.
But in the end, it didn't work. In both of those cases where I didn't do the extra step, the first one where I had a doubt, I was right. Because the moment it merged, it got stuck on the GitHub workflow. But in the end, it took literally one push, like 5 minutes, and it was fixed. The AI fixed it real fast. And then the second thing is, with the other, the pull request was open for 5 days, and somebody said, like, I guess I can't do anything because it's enabling something. It's a GitHub action workflow that people can trigger, so they don't need AWS access. So he looked at it, and I thought, like, I guess I can't do any work until it's merged. And I was like, yeah, I'll merge it. But nobody's giving me comments if it's good or bad. So I was like, okay, I'll just gonna merge it. And then again, he ran it. It didn't work. There was a missing step. But again, the AI fixed it within a minute. So I don't think we can complain like it doesn't work, because it's so iterative.
Yeah, but like, maybe what's missing is that whole talking with the customers thing. I mean, I hinted that I don't think anyone's doing that. Like, for example, when I worked in the public sector in Singapore, and the way Singapore government runs is that they have a lot of forms, right? They collect a lot of feedback from people, and that feedback basically goes straight into the product roadmap. And then when that feature is released, every feature has like an NPS sort of form with it to say, how happy are you with this form? Sad face, happy face, and I think there was a text area to give another piece of information, a free form text to say what sucked about the experience. But like, is anyone doing that with AI generated applications? Because that's really needed, right? That sort of feedback to say, hey, this is not working, or this sucks, or something like this. I mean, I only just noticed the other day that Claude has this bug button where you can, that's on Claude Desktop. I don't even know how you do it on Claude Code.
Gemini has it too. And then they close it.
But that's like, if you want to bring AI to like, I think AI is being used by the early adopters right now. But if you wanted to get AI, if you want to get SpecLedger in the hands of public service, you would need to build in that sort of loop, right, with the customers. Do you know anyone who's doing that?
So actually, it's very interesting because I was in Hong Kong and AWS was there pitching Kiro at the project that was on. And I asked, so this was a sales from AWS introducing Kiro with a very interesting demo showing like, hey, non-functional requirements are hard to get right.
Is that why you went to Hong Kong for the AWS thing?
No. But basically, after he finished his demo, which I think was a great demo, I asked him two questions. Exactly what you just said, right? How do you get these specifications in Kiro in front of business users, and how do you onboard your team members with Kiro so that because he talks about steering documents and how do you align the AI to make sure that it complies with your company internal coding practices and all. Both of them he couldn't answer, right? The first one, oh, that's you. You sit with the business user. You sit on the laptop, you prompt Kiro, and the business user sit next to you.
Oh, shoot. Well, I mean, to be honest,
I just didn't say anything.
To be honest, that's okay. The truth. That's the truth.
And then the second thing is about onboarding the steering documents. Oh, you write a script to like distribute them across your teams so that the documents land in
publish it to Confluence.
Yeah, so maybe he just didn't know the answer. But yeah, both of them were like, that's why SpecLedger exists. The idea is to bring, it's like Confluence. That's always the comment I got. I always said, like, Markdown is the source of truth. Git is the source of truth. Your docs and your code needs to be updated together. And I always got the feedback, Confluence is where your business users live. They're not in Git. So you need that document in Confluence. And I was like, okay, fine. Let's build SpecLedger then.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, but there's more to it. There's a lot more to it.
You're talking about service desk, and it depends on if it's internal. Is it B2B? Is it B2C? And where do your users
for it to become
live?
enterprise grade? Yeah, it needs almost to have a service desk. It needs to have it needs quite a bit of stuff. Anyway, let's end the podcast here.
There was one more from Circle CI about that, because they said we moved from, so this, I think is the CEO from Circle CI. He did a blog post about AI and how it impacts their building and their business also, because they're in the business of CI/CD and feedback loops and validation, right? So first off, they say obviously this is great for Circle CI because now everything needs to be validated, and with AI you can build full automated validations. And that works great for CI/CD vendors. But the second thing he talks about, like, we moved from Confluence to Linear to have more like streamlined issue management. Mm-hmm. But then it takes the AI the same or less time to complete the task than it takes us to groom the ticket, to basically define all of the work that needs to be done. So in the future, does it still make sense to create like full ticketing systems and track all of that? I thought that was like,
you might as well just implement it, right, and see how it went. Yeah, that's the trouble. I mean, yeah, like with SpecLedger, you're saying you're recording the decisions, but at the same time, I guess you can. It's going to get to the point where you can play out option A, B, and C, right? And it doesn't. There's like no cost to it. So like, why even worry about the decision itself? I guess you want to record. You definitely want to record the tree, don't you? Yeah, you do. You definitely want to do that. Okay, man. I really enjoyed talking with you. I hope everyone else enjoyed the podcast. 2 weeks of, and we haven't even 2 weeks of AI shenanigans. Please, please like the podcast. Please rate it. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on everything. and comment on stuff.
Did Cloud post it on Apple for you?
And Claude made RSS feed does it, which is cool.
Same,
oh my
same.
god!
Like I had somebody. There was an error. Like he says, "Oh, I don't have access." I just took the Slack message. I pasted it into Cloud. I said, "This is the repo. Go figure." And it's like, oh, he did the query of where does this user belong to which team, what permissions does the team have, and then he says, okay, we should add the permission to this team, and then you're done. And okay, great. Then I did the GitHub CLI call, and I went back to him and said, it's done. It even prompted like, do you now want to inform him? And I was like, yeah, but I don't have Slack connected for you, Cloud, so I need to do that. Otherwise, it would.
There's so much you can do. There's so
Yeah,
much you can
it's a
do.
bit.
Oh, actually, one thought as I'm looking at the Circle CI blog, Peter Steinberger says that he doesn't like to use CI because he finds it too slow. Like he doesn't use GitHub Actions because he finds it too slow. He always goes for local testing. I wondered if you had the same approach, or do you rely on the GitHub Actions pipeline to take 1 minute to boot up and do its thing?
No, my pipeline is for other people. That it's a double validation, right? It's as a DevOps engineer, it's always like, yeah, it's like it works on my machine. If it works on the pipeline, it means that I've made sure that anyone can reproduce my machine. And it's also, what if the other people haven't put in the proper quality gates and they introduce a regression?
Yeah.
And it's for myself. Like, yes, it may guard against regression locally, but also sometimes the CI/CD is for a longer running test that I may not want my laptop to be doing,
But
so
yeah, but GitHub really needs to be.
Why did
GitHub
OpenAI
needs to be
hire him?
disrupted, but not just because of the hosting thing and all the other things. I find it really painful to interact with GitHub workflows, getting out the logs with AI. It's always just an absolute mess.
For me. The GitHub CLI, yeah, it's wonderful.
Every time you extract a GitHub workflow, a GitHub Actions workflow log, the log is like 2,000 lines when it's doing nothing.
You can do log failed, and
yeah,
AI does
even then, it's like, hold on, I've got to show you this. We're about to end this. Like, just so you know, it's real. What the hell? So I have this. I have 3 skills here: debugger, optimizer, updater. The updater helps you update. It even has a Python script to update. The actions. So like if an outdated action at checkout at V4, it has a script that figures out the latest one and updates it to V6. But this debugger one, which is a simple skill, I hope you'll agree, it says when actions fails, diagnose your issues using the GHCLI, expect a URL like this, and then
it's weird.
Oh yeah, GitHub
because
run
it does
view.
it for me without having the skill. It does exactly this without the skill, and it also taught me a trick. Because, like for example, if I run a task that's very verbose on the logs, and I want to find failures. I have some E2E that can run like a few minutes, and it spits out a lot of logs. So many logs you wouldn't believe. Everyone says it. Anyway, the thing is that Cloud, what it does is it will use T to write to disk and then do the sed. So then if it can't find because the set failed, then it actually goes to the disk and starts setting on that. So you don't need to rerun the whole thing 3 minutes. You can just like directly go to whatever was on disk. And I always tell Cloud, hey, use that trick. That's a really cool trick that you did. And
actually, I actually need to update that then. So like tee it to a file and then.
Yeah. So if your set didn't catch it, then Cloud might still say, wait, maybe something wrong with my set. Oh yeah, I found out. And then it doesn't need to rerun the whole thing. It just goes to the logs. Yeah.
Well, this is frustrating to me because the Copilot one, it sometimes seems to defer to the MCP. I'll say allow GitHub MCP, and I'm like, no, use the GitHub CLI, and this is why I
used to have the MCP. Oh my god, uninstall.
Like the trouble is, it comes back. It's built into bloody VS Code.
Really interesting. Yeah. I don't have that problem. I kill all CLIs I see. All MCPs I see.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, I'll maybe improve the skill or just stop using it because it's not needed. That would be ideal. Less code, no
Okay.
code is the best code. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great talking with you, Vincent. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone like the stuff, and tell us how we can improve.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. You're not listening to people. Oh, all right. Okay. Bye.